Will the 2025 Oregon offense be better than the 2024 offense? Now, I will say this as it pertains to the 2024 offense compared to that 2023 offense. 2024 took a little bit of a dip down. 2023, you saw a Ducks team led by Bo Nix, Troy Franklin, Bucky Irving. We all know the names that were in Eugene in that particular season. Second in scoring offense, second in total offense that year. In 2024, it dropped down. Number 17 in scoring offense and number 22 in total offense. Now, I think a reason for that, or at least maybe a partial reason for that, is what was going on at the quarterback position. Dillon Gabriel. Let's talk about him here for just a minute. I think he did all of the things that were asked of him. I think he did all of the things that were asked of him very, very well. When you become a Heisman finalist, you're playing good football. Certainly, you know you're doing what your coaches, what Will Stein is certainly asking of you. But when I looked at Dillon Gabriel leading this offense last year, it kind of felt at times they were playing a little bit of safe mode. Screen passes in the Big Ten championship game against Penn State, that's certainly one example. But that's a game you scored 45 freaking points. So what did I say in the last show? There's no crying on the yacht. These are good problems to have, certainly if you're an Oregon Duck fan right now. But I think it's clear, and I think we knew this going in with Dillon Gabriel, that he just didn't have the arm talent. He didn't have the big-time arm strength going down the field that was needed to maybe create some of those big explosive plays for the Oregon Ducks. But I got good news for Oregon fans as it pertains to this 2025 offense. You're going to have a guy at quarterback in Dante Moore that has the arm talent, then that can make those explosive plays down the field. I think Dante provides more at quarterback, pun completely and obviously intended over there. And then when you look at what you have with the speed on the perimeter and guys to just be able to get over the top and beat their guy one-on-one, Evan Stewart and DeCorian Moore. Let's start first with Evan Stewart. I think Evan Stewart is really solidified as wide receiver one. Whereas when you look at last year's offense, you look at Tez Johnson was in there, Trayshawn Holden was in there, and of course the aforementioned Evan Stewart. I think that together they provided really good options and they were a really good group. But I think Evan Stewart in 2025 is going to be a lot more, there it is again, it's going to be a lot more like 2023 Troy Franklin than really what they had at the wide receiver position in 2024. I think 7 is going to be the main target. I talked about how Kenyon Sadiq was going to be one of the main targets. I think Evan Stewart is going to be the guy that they're going to look to get the football to. His speed and his deep threat ability and just his ability to get open, combined with the arm strength of Dante Moore firing the football down the field, I think is going to be an equation that is going to be lethal. And then you got to look at the true freshman DeCorian Moore. I think DeCorian Moore is going to be put into a lot of really good situations, but the speed, the just flat-out track speed in Tracktown, USA, from both of those guys on the outside, they could obviously bump DeCorian Moore into the slot. They've run Evan Stewart certainly out of the slot as well, but I think those guys are going to be ultra difficult matchups. I think you're going to see a lot more downfield pass game because when you combine Dante Moore's increased arm talent as compared to Dillon Gabriel and then the speed on the outside, I think you're going to see a lot of big chunks certainly down the field, more big chunks down the field from this Oregon offense in 2025 than you saw in 2024. I think overall this offense is going to resemble a little bit more what you saw in 2023 than what you saw in 2024 as well. The middle of the field, I think, is going to be dominated by Kenyon Sadiq. When you talk about the speed that's on the outside, there's a lot of athleticism. There's a lot of matchup mismatches that could certainly occur against linebackers and against safeties with Kenyon in the middle of the field. And when you talk about those three weapons, and those are three really damn good weapons for Oregon, that might be as good as there is right now in college football. The number 3 wide receiver battle, assuming Dacorian Moore is the number 2, but the number 3 wide receiver battle going into spring and then eventually into fall camp of the regular season, there's no doubt about it. It is absolutely important. It's very imperative, and you'd like to see someone really step up big into that role. But considering what Sadiq, I think, is going to be in this offense and how good of a weapon he is in the middle of the field, considering those 2 that I just talked about, I think that this is going to be more of a rotation once you get beyond those 3. The McClellans, the Dickies, the Gary Bryant Jr.'s, the Kyler Caspers, guys like that. I think you're going to see more bodies on the field at wide receiver for the Oregon Ducks in 2025. Let's move into the interior, and this is where I really like talking about this because this is where things get balanced, and maybe this is where some of Ted's takes get a little bit spicy, one might say. I think this offensive line is going to continue the elite standard back-to-back Joe Moore Award finalists. I think you're going to see more of that. Now, it's crazy. Hey, you lose 2 great offensive tackles. You lose Josh Connerly and Ajani Cornelius, Strother, at guard. Like, you lose a good amount of starters on this offensive line. But I look at specifically the transfer additions. There are 2 really good to great to maybe elite level additions in Emmanuel Pranon from USC at guard, and then Isaiah World is just getting higher ratings and higher feedback the more time that really goes on. Like, did I hear that he was the top player overall maybe in the transfer portal? Certainly the top offensive lineman over there at tackle. Could he be a first-round draft pick? Could it be a second-round draft pick? Like, there's a lot of hype right now. I think it was On3 or 24/7 Sports rated Isaiah World as the top impact transfer over Dylan Thieneman for the Oregon Ducks. And that's certainly saying something from the offensive tackle position as compared to the safety position as well. But for me, like a potential left side of this offensive line of Isaiah World and Emmanuel Pranon, and then, of course, Iapane Lalaolu Pancho in at center, that's a group of some big boys. That's a group of some guys that can move some people around. And you got Matthew Bedford possibly coming in at guard, Alex Harkey, maybe Janoris Wilson, maybe somebody else. Certainly over there at the other tackle spot. So I think the standards is going to remain the same. I think these are going to be comparable offensive lines that you saw from 2024 to 2025, just with different pieces in different places. And I think this offensive line is going to get downhill, and they're going to get downhill a lot, and you're going to have this offense be extremely balanced, which leads me to the run game. I think there is a possibility. There might be even a probability that this might be the best run game of the Dan Lanning era, and I have talked about that in a previous edition of TSOW. I think the combination with what you have on the offensive line, specifically the interior, with Iapane Lalaolu really solidifying his spot as the captain and the anchor of this offensive line at center, I think this is going to be one of the best run games in college football. When you throw in Makhi Hughes and when you throw in Noah Whittington as that great 1B option certainly as well. I think when you look at past running backs, when you look at Bucky Irving, when you look at Jordan James, like these were really good running backs. Like look at what Bucky Irving has done in his rookie year in the National Football League. I mean, look at Jordan James, who had the highest output rushing yards for an Oregon running back in the Dan Lanning era. They keep on taking steps up the ladder. You keep on getting best evers in this Dan Lanning program right now, leading Oregon. But I look at Makhi Hughes. I combine him with this offensive line. Here's a spicy take. You ready for a spicy take? I'm not ready to really put my name and signature on it quite yet, but maybe I've got the pen in my hand to write the signature. You know, a lot of people have said, end of the season next year, hey, maybe Dante Moore could be on that stage in New York City. Maybe he could be a Heisman finalist. He's got that talent to be that guy next season. Don't sleep on Makhi Hughes being that guy. I love what they have, being able to bully people in the O-line. I think he's going to remain fresh with someone like Noah Whittington in that 1B type of role. He's great at contact. It's really hard to bring him down. I think there's a possibility that he could have the best season. If he puts up the same numbers that he did at Tulane, he's going to be running behind a better offensive line at Oregon than he did at Tulane. If he puts up similar numbers than he did at Tulane, then he is going to have the best season of an Oregon running back in the Dan Lanning era. I think this offense is going to be so balanced, and it's going to be the ultimate pick your poison offense. A big part of that is the talent of Makhi Hughes in the backfield and balancing it with the talent of Dante Moore and all around this group.